This episode of Talking Marketing is brought to you by the fine folks at Marketing HQ. Marketing HQ empowers marketers to launch, grow, and excel in their careers. As a premier resource for marketing career advancement, they're home to one of the largest and most active marketing communities. They offer cutting-edge industry insights, proprietary tools, and expert services designed to fuel your professional success. Whether you're sharpening your skills, exploring new opportunities, or taking your career to the next level, Marketing HQ is your trusted partner every step of the way. Thanks again to Marketing HQ for sponsoring this episode of Talking Marketing. Hello, friends and folks. This is Alan Ibrahim, co-VP of podcasts at AMA Boston. Welcome to March. I wanted to come in here for both the video and the audio version of this episode of Talking Marketing to tell you all about what's been going on, why this episode's a little bit late, what we have going on at AMA right now, and what you can expect from what you're about to listen to or watch if you're on YouTube. This was an episode that was in the pipeline for a very long time. It is my conversation with Paula Milam from AMA Nashville, as well as True Star Marketing. And I co-hosted it with VP of Social Media, Brian Hurst, from our crew here at AMA Boston. We had a wonderful time talking to Paula. I think you're really going to like it. That out of the way, some things to let you know. Number one, we kind of went into this one without a traditional script or list of questions. Usually when we do a Talking Marketing, we build out a deck of questions, give that to the guest before the pod, and that allows us to guide the discussion. This one was a little bit more freeform. I was experimenting with a lot of things here, and I really hope that people enjoy the experiment, but it's not exactly your traditional Talking Marketing episode. That is to say that we kind of go in a lot of different topics, different directions. We didn't expect to talk about AI as much as we did, which we even go into a little bit towards the end of the pod. And I also have not done an episode with a co-host before. This was originally planned to be a 4-person episode, but we had another person drop out, which is totally valid. Paula absolutely carried the weight of this episode, and I think she was so fun to talk to. My prep call with her was a delight, and I was like, we need to get you on the pod ASAP. The thing is that happened in December, and then we waited a while, and the holidays happened, and then we ended up recording it in February, and finally, here on March 8th, 2025, we're releasing the episode for you all. And so I do want to apologize for the lateness. I think, in general, Talking Marketing and podcast and business stuff in general gets backed up with the holiday season, and it's also just challenging dealing with multiple schedules, and, I don't want to make excuses, though. I really think you're going to like this episode. Like I said, Paula has a ton of experience coming from a science background, building that into a business background. She talks about True Star. She talks about Nashville as a city, and she gives some nice recommendations if you're ever in the area. Last but not least, just another editor's note for you. The audio of this episode is going to be weird, and it's kind of unavoidably weird. It's a 101 of podcasting that if you record a podcast remotely, usually you record the Zoom, or in this case, the Google Meets call, and you can just put that audio up and it'll usually sound totally fine. Unless we have internet issues, which we did towards the end of this episode. So, especially if you're listening to the audio version, you're not going to really know what's going on, but Paula's audio might cut out for extended periods of time, and then her call dropped. She left to fix that issue and then came back, and everything sounds a lot better. And we wrap up the episode with really good audio. But there is a chunk of about, I'd say, 5 to 10 minutes where, it's super tough to hear. And listener, this is on me. Again, if I had my druthers, what I would have done, and this is my tip for you podcasters out there, if you do a remote podcast, everybody should record locally. I totally could have instructed her to do that. I chose not to in the interest of time and efficiency. And, that's what happened. So I'm sorry to Paula if the parts of your wonderful answers were cut out by the audio troubles. Sincerely, that could have been fixed if I had asked you to record locally. I only mention that because I want this podcast to be educational. I want people to understand not only how it's made, but if they want to make their own, how to avoid issues like that in the future. So again, my sincerest apologies, because her answers were super duper good. And I did do my best in the recording to recap what she was saying as best as I could and sort of reframe it. I even asked her to repeat certain parts, but that is what it is. So I'm just letting you know before I get the emails and comments saying, well, Alan, why does the audio sound weird? Alan, why does the video look weird? That's what happened. Other than that, episode's great. Like I said, some things to look forward to. If you're in the Boston area, I highly suggest you check out AMA Boston's events calendar. The biggest thing here in March is we have a marketing mingle on March 20th. Let me confirm the location for you. It is at the Bosworth on 90 Tremont Street in Boston. Thursday, March 20th, 6 to 8 p.m. You can sign up on our Eventbrite page. Just look up AMA Boston on Eventbrite. And it's going to be really fun. We have all the board members are there. I'm hoping to be there. You get to meet other marketing people. You get to exchange business cards and LinkedIn info. It's so fun, sincerely. And we try to make our mingles like actually cool and not just people standing in a room. We do our best, right? We have a virtual event in, March 18th. We have a 6 to 7 p.m. virtual meetup. Those are also great ways to network if you're not directly in the area. And we have a webinar, which I think is coming up as well on March 11th. So all this to say, amaboston.org events calendar. You'll get way more details and background on all of that. I just wanted to let people know what to look forward to coming soon. And otherwise, I hope you're enjoying March. It's finally getting warmer here in Boston. I'm here in Quincy specifically. I have a very chill weekend lined up. I hope that you all are doing so well, that the sun is treating you well, that your life is treating you well, and that you are, continuing to mingle and do marketing and learn and grow together. So with all that done and said, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and Alan and Paula for today's episode of Talking Marketing. Hello and welcome to Talking Marketing, an AMA Boston podcast where we chat with marketing professionals across various industries and try to get to the core of what makes their work impactful. I'm Alan Ibrahim, your host and VP of Podcasts at AMA Boston. And today I'm joined by two guests, one co-host and one guest. Very exciting. First off, welcome Brian Hurst, VP of Social Media, to the show. My good friend, Brian Hurst.
Hey, Alan.
Welcome. Brian brought to me an amazing opportunity for this month's episode, and I'm very excited to be chatting with him as well as our very, very special guest. She's the founder and chief strategist at TrueStar Marketing. She's also the chair of healthcare marketing programs over at AMA Nashville. Welcome, Paula Milam, to Talking Marketing.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's very exciting to have you. To start, we always like to ask on Talking Marketing, what's your background and how did you get to your current career role?
Well, I don't want to give you my life story. So my background is I love science just in general. If you go to passion, like I love science. I love natural sciences. I subscribe to National Geographic and I read somebody said, do you read it? And I say, I read the stuff I'm really interested in. But so that kind of drives part of it. I also love math, right? I'm analytical, but I love creative. So I first, my background, I started out thinking, well, I wasn't in school doing a pre-med major and I had to pay for school. So I ended up, not graduating in the sciences, but how do you, apply that? But I wrote. So I liked writing. I liked the creative side. I liked how all the ads came together. But I learned a lot about how do the ads work? How does advertising work in general? When I say ads, I mean broad spectrum marketing, right? Like, what does that messaging mean? So I found over time that I had to satisfy both sides of my brain, both creatively and analytically, like developing the creative and the strategies that work. So my background is I love all those things. And I first started, in product development at one company where we started from scratch for a find your way through the night sky in multiple courses, selling. It was actually selling our telescope line that we developed.
Oh, interesting.
But I created a product called Passport to the Stars that I got to create and edit with an astronomer. And we got, back in the day, we got Isaac Asimov to endorse it. And I was in Philadelphia and I went, believe it or not,
Yeah.
I called him on the phone. I called him on the phone and he endorsed it and, it became a big thing. So I kind of have that background. And then I found over time that, and it worked. It was great that the program ran for a long, 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 long time. And people, bought telescopes and things in between, finding their way through the night sky and ending up taking astrophotographs of the rings of, if they needed to, if they wanted to go that far and buy all the equipment. But what happened is I got to a point where I felt like I really didn't understand all of what products were selling, how much, and if the advertising was working. And so my background is, if it isn't working, marketing is supposed to work. All of marketing is, marketing is supposed to work. If it isn't, so that's kind of where I come from. And I work across multiple different industries. I don't know if that's what you wanted, but
yeah, absolutely. Tree Star Marketing, the company that you work with, fuses the art of science and marketing. I'm curious if you can elaborate a little bit on that. What is it about science and marketing that go hand in hand?
Yeah, so the art of branding, we fuse the art of branding and the science of data analytics. And so when you create your campaigns, you create your positioning, you create your ads, does it work or doesn't it? So the data analytics side is all the tracking and the analytics. It's all, today, I started out in traditional media and tracked through traditional media, but today we have, a vast majority digital media, digital applications, which is fully trackable in real time. So it's basically taking straight up solid statistical analytics and applying it against A/B split tests. So different headlines, different images, different offers, different colors, what really resonates with your audiences. And so they actually work together, but it's hard, right? It's hard to make them always work together because it's a very specific diligence and process. And I find that creative people and data analytics people don't always speak the same language. So it's really challenging. And I think I really like it because it's really challenging.
Yeah. You wake up in the morning, you got a brand new challenge every day, it seems like.
Right. It's always a new adventure.
That makes a lot of sense, though. Yeah. That it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of seeing what works, which in a way is itself very scientific. So you're bringing a similar mindset, I think, to both sides of the house, and hopefully helping those two sides communicate with each other and make things better together.
Right. I think that's a good point because I've had where my SEO team wants to change the line on the homepage of the website at the top, and because it doesn't have the certain SEO words in it, and I'm like, that's their brand.
Right. That part's
that
not
is
shakable.
key to their brand. It's not. So fusing can be difficult.
What's something that you have worked on or a project that the team has created recently that you were like, wow, this really did fuse those two things together?
Well, most recently, we have a technical manufacturing client who creates very specific environmentally friendly chemistries for electronics manufacturing. Okay. And there are very specific categories that they're in and very specific substances. And in today's search engine optimization landscape, we have this thing called AI. I think you've probably heard about it. And so it's hitting all the algorithms and it's hitting, this thing on Google called AI Overview, which Google is still 90 or 94% of search in America. And they want to come up at top for those, intent to purchase keywords. But you also want that AI overview because that's actually coming up top of the organic ranking. And we did it. In like a couple of months, we did the content strategy and all the stuff to bring them to the top for our client.
I'm curious, actually, speaking of AI, like that's a lot, right? Then the AI overview, I think, has been a hot topic with people talking about search engine optimization because for some, it's like, well, it's bumping results down, right? It's like you said, it's literally appearing above search.
I know.
And there's also a question of accuracy, like because it's sourcing from so many different places, you can ask it a question and it can still give you sort of a completely wrong answer, an objectively wrong answer. And I'm curious with like marketing, how do you guys navigate that? How do we navigate the way that Google is changing with AI and how people search for things?
Well, as best as you can.
Right.
What you do is you have to stay up on top of what they're doing and what their announcements are and what's in
Yeah.
the press, and you have to be reading like the latest publications, because they do announce when the algorithms change, what they're doing. They will, and then they change their minds.
Hmm.
So you stay on top of it and anticipate. And once you're very deep in the deep waters of SEO, you begin to understand the pulse, right? So like, how do you pull somebody up to the top? And a lot of it is experience. It's
Yeah.
not like, it's not like you could just start today and know it all, because let's face it, we will be a little bit jaded as to some of the announcements, because they don't all happen when they're supposed to, and then they get undone and redone.
For sure.
So I think, again, that's why I probably like tennis better than golf. It's like you have to be constantly reacting, if that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
It's proactive, not reactive, right? You're seeing what happens and
It is proactive. For the most part, I will say that quality content, and really understanding your audiences, which are basics, right, for all
Mhm.
good marketing, they do stand up on the algorithm tests and the AI tests, at least for Google so far. But
Yeah.
the suspicious part and the jaded part is they also, are going to promote their own AI solutions. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that sorts out.
Yeah. Is it something are you optimistic about the future of marketing, of your career, where it's at right now? Like, where are things heading?
Yeah. Um,
I know that's kind of a big
I
question.
It's a big question. I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
In the past 2 weeks, I've been to multiple conferences, one for business growth and scaling, and one for Vive, which is a healthcare, health tech, AI, all the efficiencies for that specific industry. And my takeaways today are, you have to evolve with the AI right now,
Right.
immediately, and to develop very clear integration tests,
Mhm.
and then process plans for how you approve those AI integrations into your business. But I do think it's dramatically affected marketers. I know two different companies that were in marketing services and copywriting that have switched their models to AI integration models and business plans. And I think you'll see more of that.
I believe it.
Mhm.
Actually, Brian, I was curious, as somebody who works in the field of email marketing right now, where do you feel like some of these changes are affecting your business? And do you have any questions to sort of synthesize what we're talking about here with what you do?
It's still in its infancy. Like I went to Inbound last year,
Hmm.
and they were like, "This is an infant. My 10-year-old kid has challenges with it, and we're gonna fix those soon." So it's definitely a learning curve, and I was curious for Paula in that regard. Like, what's the adoption level in Nashville? Has it been kind of like, what is this robotic thing, or has there been some embrace around town, or kind of curious on that take?
I think that there is usage, and I don't know if you're speaking specifically to email. Um, I think that there is utilization of, obviously, the language AIs, every day in every marketing group.
Right.
Yeah.
There are rules and guidelines as to how you can utilize them. I mean, if a human, like, we do a lot of paid search, they're all written with AI,
Hmm.
tools. But if you don't manage them, you feed the Google machine, for example. But I do think that people are utilizing it. I don't think it is very, I think the smaller portion has it processed, like applied as a process, like these are the AIs that we're checking. So that's what we're moving into. This is what we're going to decide on in the next 3 months. And I think that timelining it is really important. Like,
So it sounds like corporations are embracing it already in the Tennessee area, but has it trickled down to small businesses and average consumers, or kind of not there yet?
well, that's a good question. I would be exceeding my knowledge banks if I told you that I had an answer. I think that I'm part of a very large family, both in my siblings, my husband's family, but also our children. We have 6 children together. I can tell you that they're using it, but it's a dabbling. They're in all different fields. It's not a daily application, so I don't think it's massively used. But this year will change a lot. It's going to be on exponential acceleration of integration into the workforce. Where we see it in the company side is in workflow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious, like you have children, as you mentioned, and what are they're not writing papers with ChatGPT yet. I know that's becoming a problem with like college campuses and high school even. But it's even bigger than that, right? It's like, well, is AI helping people come up with ideas for pet projects they want to start, or getting into hobbies? I try to think about what I was doing when I was, a preteen. And it's like, I was just looking for things to do, right? Looking for ways to explore. And if AI happens to replace the way we think about like just using the internet or searching for things, then
it does.
Yeah, you would hope that it provides meaningful, actionable tips for those kids.
Do you have anything to say about that, Brian? No? I don't want to put you on the spot. Yeah.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna add, I think there's obviously a parental guidance on what it can do, and you're not just gonna let maybe a freshman in high school run wild with it when you don't even maybe know yourself as the kind of the parental role.
True.
But I'm sure there's it's almost like the Jones effect amongst college and high school students of, oh, my parent let me use AI, or my parent did not let me use AI. So I'm sure there's like inner competition brewing until most parents are comfortable with it to let them use it fully.
I think these are really good points in terms of security, in terms of what kind of content will be fed up.
Yeah.
Not that we're fed up, but what kind of content comes up when you do a search. I think that it is definitely a what's the right word? It's like a teaser, like for young people, you're going to have to try it and you're going to have to use it and you're going to have to see what it does. So it's explorative. But it is, I think, Alan, it is definitely going to affect search, which is why Google has to help start, it has to lead it, because, at least it's reliable. But if it's not going to be able to have the data set to draw from to compete with other platforms like Perplexity in terms of the quality of answers.
Yeah, it's a conversation that comes up in every Talking Marketing episode, right? But I think this discussion specifically of the role it plays in like children development, and as myself, somebody who was a digital native, someone who grew up with the internet, like I learned a lot through the internet, right? I did my research, I found out things, I met communities of people. And something I worry about is, my parents, for example, will send me links on Facebook, and it'll be audio clips that are clearly to us like AI generated, right? Of like the president says something.
Right.
And I'm like, no one taught us how to look out for these things, right? And so if I have kids someday, then I'm worried that they're going to be like, oh, Dad, somebody online said this is happening. And I'm like, that's clearly fake. Like, that worries the crap out of me.
I mean, the deep fakes and the celebrity, and you're talking about virtual influencers. I mean, talk about it opening up the segue
Yeah.
to the max there.
Yeah.
There's like the blurred lines of truth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's that's the scary part, and it's real. Yeah. I have been I saw these videos and I'm like, that just can't be real. And then I'm like, of course it's not,
It's not.
because it's not.
Well, and because you're intelligent and you've worked in this business for a while, like you know how to spot the difference. But again, like we're not teaching people how to look out for those things, and that might be another avenue for this. Is like, does it come up in schools?
Oh.
Because when I was younger, the best thing what we got was, you can use Wikipedia, but don't cite it because it's user edited, and that's a different thing because we always associated information with academia, right? The only people who provide truly accurate information online are scholarly. And then it became, well, now anybody can submit information and that's all valid. It's just not scholarly. And now we've gone another tier down and said, well, AI is kind of giving you a summary and it's probably wrong, but it's not. It's pulling from something that's right. And it's a whole different thing. I used to learn don't use Wikipedia, and now they're saying don't use AI. So the bar has shifted.
Or even when they were like, don't use the calculator on the test.
Right.
Go back another level.
Yeah, I think that's really it, Brian, is we need to remind people to use their brains. And like, I'm not trying to be anti-technology, obviously. I think a lot of
Mm.
this stuff can be integrated beautifully, but this thing up here works really well for discerning real and fake information if you know how to use it.
If you're using it. But if you don't
Yes.
use it, it's like your muscles.
Super well said. It atrophies like a muscle, yeah.
I mean, I think these are really important points, but it's human nature.
Mhm.
Go to the lowest, point of friction.
Right. Yeah, I used to read a lot about like video game development, and one of the biggest challenges in game development is getting players to not just do the easiest thing possible, like to encourage them to challenge themselves and do something that you maybe you built out like a whole level that's really complex, and they're like, no, I'm just gonna take the shortcut. And it's like, well, because everyone defaults to taking the shortcut. I'm not gonna tell people don't use AI. It's like you shouldn't have to use it. You shouldn't feel like it's the only option. But if
Hmm.
it can help you and if it can make things easier for you, then I guess more power to you. But get back to me in 6 months when we're all we've changed our
Well,
thoughts on it.
so the AI generated videos, the AI generated content, if you look at straight up search, Google dings you for it. They don't
Yeah.
like it. Now
Right.
I don't know, like if you produce it from a Google generated tool, then they probably like it really well.
Of course.
So
If you make it with their stuff, then they like it. Yeah, that's the other thing. Every other week someone makes a new tool and it's like, yeah, but Google's paying me to use theirs. Like, I don't know why I would use yours when so pivoting from that, Paula, you mentioned that you help with healthcare marketing over at AMA Nashville. I'm curious if the healthcare field has also dealt with issues with AI and false information, if that's becoming a ongoing conversation.
I don't know that that's an ongoing conversation. The Vive conference I just went to, was loaded with AI, and it's for, like I said, a lot of it's for workflow and efficiencies. There were all kinds of really cool new innovations, just in terms of applying it to how to, get nursing staff, since there's shortage of nursing staff. Just brilliant ideas out there in how to apply it, both across a whole hospital system as well as for individual practitioners.
Yeah.
I and it's being developed. Like, there are innovation departments at the major players. I saw, robotics for surgery where the AI is learning the exact movements of the surgeon. So from a healthcare, like if you think of the most sophisticated surgeries there are,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's when I say sophisticated, the way it's described is like it is actually learning from how they navigate in and when they make changes and what the actual hand movements are and what the because you're it's robotic surgery, but
Sure.
it's actually tracking and eventually, it can replicate. So it's really about scale
Mm-hmm.
and exactness and being able to scale faster. Um,
Yeah, it's
if
accelerating.
hmm From a AI in terms of marketing, I would say, it's the things that we know about and how you apply it. You still have to have original content and, you know, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Um, I want to pivot a little bit because we could talk about AI all day long, as we always seem to fall into doing on this show, like I said.
Let's not fall into that.
Yeah. I want to know more about your workflow, like sort of what does your day to day look like? Because we have a lot of listeners who are new to the business and marketing world and may be curious for somebody in your position. What does a day in the life of Paula Milam look like lately?
Okay. Well, um, we are working to grow in scale. So my roles change a little bit, but so maybe since you have new people on board, uh, younger people who are launching a career, changing a career, I would say that, the day to day is we are doing a lot of work in user experience design, in SEO, in digital social and advertising, so meaning paid and organic
Yeah.
social. Um, Really evaluating what works to take from click all the way through to sale. So
Right.
for e-commerce, and I think that when you look at the day to day, it is establishing best practices for how you do that. So like when people start with us, we train.
Right.
Like very rarely do people come in and know all this stuff. So we do extensive training. Um, on the day to day, we do like how we're structured is we do production meetings once a week.
Yeah.
We do touch bases in between. We have a team approach. We're relatively flat, frankly. Um, we'll be building hierarchy. And then process is really important if you're going to scale. So I find that that's true for training too.
Right.
So, and especially today. So we also build out our video training. Like that's really important.
Yeah.
We have a CRM and marketing automation platform that we utilize and support clients on and customize, and it's called Fusion. And so we do training for that because that's where all the automated programs go out, like the emails. So like an automated drip for email campaigns, for example, for leads. I don't know if that's what you wanted, but that's what I gave you.
No, I love it. It's important to hear what it sounds like when a company is scaling, the challenges that can come
Mm-hmm.
with that. What's been something that's been really particularly hard about that, other than developing training and scaling? Like, what's
It's
been a
all
challenge?
really hard,
Yeah,
Alan.
I believe
It's
that. I believe it.
all really hard. um, I would say, first of all, we probably spent it. You think you're going to get processes all refined and written, and in this environment, they change
Yeah.
like the next year. So, I think that's been hard. I think that's probably a place where we could integrate some AI to some degree.
Sure.
But I think it's hard. But we've been fortunate because we have people who keep up on it and do it. So that part of it, I know for me,
Mm.
processes are really boring. And I feel like, although I do have a very clear schedule for myself to be sure that, I'm on my process and the process helps you meet your goals, right?
Of course.
But for scaling, if you don't have process, you can't train. And most of the workforce will come in and not know what you're asking for. And so for me, it's frustrating because I'm like, well, yeah, but like, and then I'm like, no, we have to lay it all out and do that. So that's been a hard part. And then I think, um, whenever you have people who you're teaching something new to, and getting to think differently, that's
Hmm.
different because we like to have everyone involved in understanding our brand. I think getting everyone on the same brand speak is always a challenge for our clients too.
Right.
They love the brand. Here, let's talk about creative. They love the brand. They love it. They are so excited. And then you go to make it live and they start changing it. And it's
Right.
like, well, no.
We said it a certain way for a reason, right? Yeah.
You love this, remember?
Hmm.
So I think those are hard parts. Yeah.
Yeah, you're almost reminding the client occasionally, like, this, yeah, this was done for a reason. This was intentional. It wasn't just like a suggestion, but like it's important that we're on the same page about what we're making here,
Hmm.
you know?
Well, yes. So I will also say this to answer your other question.
Sure.
Vision is really important and getting the entire team on the vision. And you
Hmm.
only do that by having them participate in it. If you want to have a great marketing business or a great company of any kind, it's the people. Like the people, if they're on the vision and they're passionate like you are, and they are creating it with you, and it's good for them, and that's the kind of company we want to build. But it's been work, you know,
Hmm.
uh, to where you visualize where you want to be. So that's great for young people. I talk to a lot of candidates, and I'll say, do you know what you really want to do?
Right.
And they don't always. So you can't visualize it to make it real, and that it affects your outcome. What you
Yeah.
think is what you become, right? So
Manifesting.
yes. So I think that's really a beautiful thing um, that I wish I had known about a long, long time ago. You know, I was kind of doing it, but like I didn't know about all the visualization. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, oh, Brian, yeah, I have a question. Go ahead.
You mentioned kind of hiring and applicants that you maybe help screen. One of our focuses in sure it's AMA Nashville's as well, but the hiring of marketers. Any advice that comes to mind in this day and age of marketing hires? Is it be really specific what you're looking for, or what else comes to mind there?
is that a question for me?
Yeah, to Paula.
Okay. Okay. I think first of all, mindset and personality that you're looking for trump experience in many ways. Um, if somebody's really smart and interested in what you're offering and passionate about it. So, Patrick Lencioni has a book, Hungry, Humble, and Smart. Smart being people smart, easy read. I mean, I think that tells you you can have, a lot of the right components, but if you don't have those, you're probably not like the A candidate who will learn the stuff that you want them
Right.
to learn. Um, and then we do have a very specific process for interviewing. I have made a lot of mistakes in hiring and managing, and I keep trying to get better at it. And I think I'll be doing that forever. Uh, but there are some really good books out there. One of them is called Who, WHO. It has a whole process for interviewing high level people. Uh, but for marketing specifically, yes, they do have to have experience, but it's really, do they have the type of skills that need to be applied to the role and the
Amazing.
discipline? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's more of the, yeah, get the person, not just the skill set on paper.
Right.
And have you noticed too, it's almost like there's a trend in almost excessive rounds and or like a project-based segment of an interview. It seems like we have such a high volume of an applicant pool that we're looking for more ways to vet.
Right. So this wasn't the case 2 years ago, and we're in a different market.
Wow.
I do think partly because of technology
Hmm.
as well as the economy. But uh, yes, right now, a lot of people are going to subcontract first. and as you called it, project based. Or they'll try. I do not believe in asking someone to do a real project and not paying them for it. I do not believe in unpaid interns. I just believe that work, if you're asking someone to do work, then you should pay them for it.
Thank you for saying
How
that.
Oh, you're welcome. I do. I mean, I remember way back when it was like, yeah, well, you don't have to pay them because they're an intern. And I'm like, what quality of work should you expect if you're not even
Exactly.
willing to pay somebody? But I do think that there is a big trend, Brian, to go in project first, and we've done it as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
It makes sense on paper, right? You're like, well, because we're dealing with something similar at my job over at the T, where we're hiring positions. And like you said, Paula, when you just interview people, whether it's by video call or even just by, reading their app, so much of it tends to look similar. And the best application looks like the most mediocre application. It's only when you get to know the person writing it and what they're genuinely capable of doing that you can say, okay, this person's the real best candidate. But it also toes this line of like, am I now asking them to work for me for free? And that's problematic, I think, for sure, because we don't want to just
Right.
keep doing that. You don't work for exposure. Talking Marketing believes in don't work for exposure and you should pay your interns. I think those are pretty basic tenets.
Yeah, I think it's human respect, human respect and dignity. Like, just, yeah. To me, it says a little something about the company if you don't do that right.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being opinionated. It's good to take a stance on that. That's that Southern honesty that we love to hear so much, right? Yeah, Brian, do you wanted to ask some other stuff, I think?
Yeah, curious, Paula, your take on, maybe because everyone associates Nashville and music, how those skills translate. You mentioned it's such a competitive pursuit that a lot of folks end up switching careers. So what kind of skills did they learn from music that they can apply to medical or healthcare or pharmaceutical, you name it?
It's a really good question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool question. I'm from a family of musicians. I'm just one. I'm a sighter, but you're a natural born musician that you're a bunch of instruments, do all the things. The difference between music and that. And what I have found in marketing that it can translate very well into website development, coding, realizing it's a weird thing. I've seen it. It is, I don't know if it's an organization of thought or how all these crazy multiple pieces can come together and create a beautiful melody. I don't know, but I have seen it in relation. And I have also seen your initial, and this is really fun. So we do more than healthcare, but I was at this healthcare event, and there's all these CEOs and CFOs and COOs at these healthcare organizations. A whole pile of them are also musicians, but they do it on the side because it's hard to make a living at that for your whole life and really kill it the way you could on the business side. But they love music. And they do that on the side in bands and everything. So I don't know what the correlation is, but it's pretty beautiful because music is for life. I don't know that we'll be doing marketing for our life, but music is for your life.
It may, and maybe this is kind of sums it up. Musicians are almost like their own business, so they have to take parts of that, kind of launching a startup and then applying it to something else later.
Oh, I like that. And you have to work really hard to be successful at it.
Yeah.
And then maybe another thought, if
Good.
someone was considering moving to Nashville, their job relocates them or they find it more affordable in some cases, what's one thing that would be surprising for them when they finally make the move?
I was told when they finally move is that it's actually pretty expensive.
Okay.
Our home values have gone up these things with that is variety, since we're talking about incredible variety in music is here. It's certainly
Paula, sorry, I think
Cool.
we had some connection issues there. Could you actually repeat that answer,
okay.
please?
Oh, sure. I think they would be surprised at the cost of living here because of the home values. We
Mhm.
have a lot of people coming from all over the country, including California, so that's affected us. But the other
Yeah.
part, I think they would be surprised that it is a huge and deep space for all kinds of music. This is not just country. I
Right.
don't mean just country like country. It's a blast,
Yeah, of course.
but it is a center for music.
Beautiful. I think that's about what I have. My last again sort of like big overarching question, Paula, was you've talked about, and there we go. Dang. Cursed by the internet connection.
Right.
I could tell we were wrapping it. I was like, let's just, if we can get this one out. We'll keep this on the air, Brian. Is that okay? Keep this candid for folks. Sorry to the listener. We're getting some really cool insights from Paula Milam from AMA Nashville. Looks like she had a connection issue. If this lasts a while, we'll have to edit in a postscript or something. But let's give her a minute to come back. And I guess while she's gone, Bri, if we want to talk about what we learned today, I think she has some really cool insights as someone who's more senior level than who I'm used to talking to. You know, what did you learn today?
But I definitely like that they're almost aware of the hiring flaws, and maybe now we can take a step back and use AI to make an applicant's experience better, but then also to make it be less of an emphasis, so we can, in a sense, have those hiring managers go back to marketing,
Right.
and not spend so much time on this is candidate A through Z to
Yeah.
make a decision which one of the alphabet you want to hire.
We got Paula back. I think she's back.
I'm back. There we go. Okay.
Welcome. Sorry, yeah, some connection issues abound. We were just kind of talking about what we learned from this conversation so far.
Okay.
But my last question was pretty much what is, if you had one piece of advice for maybe yourself from, let's say, 20 to 30 years ago, did that person think that they were going to be where you are now? And if not, what would you tell them?
Oh, I like that question.
Thanks. Because I know we talked actually in our prep call, Paula, about how, you almost said, I think you mentioned like wanting to be a boy when you were younger and wanting to sort of, which I loved. I love that comment. And wanting to push yourself into careers and directions that maybe society didn't think that you were the best fit for, but you said, I'll do it anyways and I'll excel at it. So you feel like you've done that?
I feel like you make the best decisions with the information you have at the time. And I feel like, when you look back on your life, you make a lot of mistakes and you fail at stuff. And I think, I'm happy where I am. I always want to do more. I am that person. This is not a good thing. I'm always want more. Always. I'm always going to do more, always want more, always want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being in marketing, to be honest with you, allows you to do that. We work with so many different companies in so many different industries, and it is always entertaining and always educational, and you can find something that you love in it and help companies grow. I do think that's a really good part of what we do. It's fun.
That's what matters. End of the day.
All right.
You're making cool things and you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to the end here. I want to say thank you so very much to Paula Milam for joining us on Talking Marketing. As Brian and I were discussing, we learned a ton today about hiring practices and about how things are different between Boston and Nashville. We got to hear a little bit about your career. And I'm curious, Paula, is there anything you want to plug for the folks or recommend to folks listening at home?
I don't know. I will say, if I can do this, my business is True Star Marketing.
Yes, of course.
Infuse the art of branding and the science of data analytics to measurably improve results. We are passionate about that. I do think what I would say is if you love creative and you love, you know, numbers and you're interested in I would say learn about different areas of marketing. It's quite complex. There are technical areas, there are creative areas, and we will never be replaced by AI.
There we go. Amazing. True Star Marketing.
Yes.
And then
You are
Brian.
real.
Yes, be real. Brian, anything on the AMA social side that you want to give folks an update on?
What just dropped this week or released for folks that like that term better is we're going to have a virtual event in April featuring Marcus Sheridan, and he's talking about endless customers. So it should be an interesting theme from one of the premier marketing speakers this day and age.
Awesome. And everything AMA Boston can be found at AMA Boston on Blue Sky and LinkedIn and Instagram, of course. Miriam, our wonderful Instagram person, would not let me go an episode without mentioning the Instagram. And I want to thank you again, Paula, for being with us. That has been another episode of Talking Marketing. If you enjoyed this episode of Talking Marketing and you want to hear more of our conversations with marketing professionals, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other major podcast platform of choice. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube as AMA Boston. And most importantly, if you'd like to support the work we do here, please consider becoming an AMA Boston member by heading over to amaboston.org/become-a-member. AMABoston.org is also the #1 place to find all of our work, including the AMA Boston blog, events calendar, job board, and a whole suite of ways to volunteer with our team. We get to keep doing this thanks to the support of listeners like you. Thank you.